Rift Rivals started off with EU and NA going blow for blow. Pressure is on to perform for their fans as we close out the group stage. Graffiti walls and personal jerseys were aplenty at the tailgate today in preparation for the MSI rematch between Fnatic and Team Liquid. We'll see where the fans throw their favor as Fnatic, Team Liquid, and Splice all aim to claim victory and bring home glory for their region. Of course, the regions come into the day tied at 2-2, so it sets the table for a very exciting conclusion to group stages. Hello and welcome to the Rift Rivals pre-show, where we recap yesterday's games and offer our thoughts on the matches ahead until the timer reaches 0 and we jump into Champions Select. Yesterday, G2 and Fnatic picked up wins for EU, while NA's Team Liquid and Echo Fox did the same before we closed out the day. With the regions tied, I think it's time to draw perfectly reasonable conclusions after one day of games in this installment of Overreactions. You're new to this, Vidia, so get ready. You're in the hot seat. Splice won't win a game at Rift Rivals in 2018.
Object. That is incorrect.
I don't think Vidia understands how overreactions work.
Which one they winning?
He overreacted. That's exactly.
That's right. That's a good point. All right.
I think they will win a game. I think that they will defeat 100 Thieves later on today, and they will be the reason why we win the best of 5 tomorrow.
Wow.
Well, I also think that thinking about what Splice has to do to not win a game, they only have to lose twice more. Like, they've already played 2 games on day 1. It just means the loss in their 1 game today and 1 loss during the best of 5 relay race tomorrow. So I think it's absolutely possible that Splice doesn't win a game, since they did start the EU LCS 0-4, and they just now have to go 0-4 against the top 3 finishers from last split's NALCS. It could happen.
And I heard Deficio talking about, he was in his own theory crafting world of the best of 5. He was saying put Splice against Team Liquid because they're probably not going to beat anyone anyway.
Oh, damn it, Deficio!
Give them their worst matchup. And then it's very easy they lose tomorrow, so they need to beat 100 Thieves today if they're going to go by that.
Right, if you'd expect your 3 seed to lose to the other 3 seed, you might as well put them against the 1 seed and take that loss. Now, they did win their 2v2 side selection matchup yesterday. I don't know
technically
if
that counts
as a win.
Does that count as a game?
It's a moral victory at least,
James.
They're not going to win.
Didn't mean to throw EU a bone there. Next up, Fnatic is strictly better without Reckless.
Yes.
Wow. Strictly, all time, from now on and forever.
I think right now, because Reckless, his mentality is that 80 carries do not work. He's adamant that they cannot be played in the bot lane, and given his mentality, I think it would only hinder the team. Whereas right now, with Brookboy and Soaz being so flexible and being so versatile, the overall state of Fnatic is much healthier and better than if Reckless was on the lineup.
And I'll agree with half of what you said, whereas right now I think Brookboy is the right thing for them. But with Reckless, they were by far the best team in Europe, and everything Fnatic has pretty much ever done as a League of Legends organization, as far as winning, has been either with Reckless. I'm throwing out 2013. From 2014 forward, everything Fnatic has ever done
is because of Reckless. There's a lot of people.
We're all about big
statements. A lot of enemies.
Big wrong statement.
Since Reckless joined the team, everything they've done has been with this guy. I mean, a lot of Worlds runs. The fact that they were so good in Europe, and I think he's just waiting until he thinks 80 carries are better. And that could happen after this tournament if Doublelift smashes Bwipo bottom lane.
Well, he might also just get nerfed into retirement if they don't change him, because, I mean, Ruler is on record saying he thinks 80 carries are fine, and anyone who's complaining is out of their mind. Yeah,
they
so
even got buffed.
If this isn't good enough for Reckless, I don't know, maybe he never comes back.
What a way to go out.
Just slowly being pushed away.
I'm going home. I'm taking my ball.
All right, next up, and finally, Huni is the worst performing player overall at this tournament.
Oh, man.
Ooh, Brandini might have something to say about that. But what I'll say about that is, at least Brandini got screwed in the draft, it felt like, and there was not much he could do against a Nocturne Aatrox having him. Huni's had good matchups for the most part in both of his games and still fed for the most part.
Yeah, he died so many times where he didn't need to, with Renekton slicing, dicing in bad situations, and I think he's definitely, based on expectations of where he should be, Huni was way below that yesterday and needs to play better.
All right, well, we'll see which pros can clean up their play with our matches today as we pull up the schedule presented by Jersey Mike's. Game 1 is a rematch between Spring Split champions, EU's Fnatic and NA's Team Liquid, followed by Echo Fox versus G2, with 3 more matches to close out the group stage. Following those 5 games, we'll have the 2v2 gauntlet, where each team will send their bot lanes in order to claim the title of Best in the West. If hunger strikes and you're looking for a sub above, visit a Jersey Mike's or order online at jerseymikes.com. And be sure to be on the lookout for a promotion coming soon, where ordering online will grant you in-game rewards. Now, before we can get into that first match of the day, side selection has to be decided by a 2v2. So we're sending it over to Freak, Deficio, and Azael to bring us into the action.
Thank you very much, Dash. Welcome to the 2v2 side selection decider for Game 1. My name is David Freak Turley, joined by Martin DeFisher Lunga on the far side and Isaac Azale Cummings Bentley in the middle. We've got Canadian Sandwich.
That's true.
I guess.
Because that's how sandwiches work.
Actually
You
accurate.
described about what's in the middle. So there we go.
You just nod and smile when it's Freak. Just let it.
You're doing great, Freak. You're doing great.
Thanks very much.
Keep it up.
League of Legends and video games. Now, for those of you who missed the memo, since Fnatic and Team Liquid are both the #1 seeds from their respective regions, side selection is decided by a 2v2. Winning the 2v2 requires one of 3 conditions. First turret destroyed, first team to 2 combined kills, or first team to 100 combined last hits on minions. Now, taking to Howling Abyss, it's Impact and Po Belter for Team Liquid, and Wepo and Caps for Fnatic.
So it's going to be solo laners for both these teams. Well, I guess Wepo was kind of a bot laner now.
He's everything.
But it's pretty much solo laners, and
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense if you're going to go for a less traditional bot lane. If you don't want to play marksman plus support, you want to play more all-in style champions. Hey, mages, fighters, etc. are going to be better played by these guys.
And we saw Nivea Poppy yesterday from G2. Worked really well. They managed to get 2
What happens
kills.
if it's a Nivea Poppy mirror match?
Oh, I don't know. I guess who puts up the wall
Then you
first?
don't learn W on Poppy ever. Well, no, you can stop the charge. I guess it's actually valuable, but you gotta make sure you don't get stunned before this charge.
It's not going to be Poppy versus Nivea Mirror.
Chances are very low. What if it's Zillion versus Zillion, no spells? Like it's a Froggen versus
Froggen.
Froggen from like a year ago, yeah. That's not likely to be the
See,
case.
Poppy got banned. I called it.
Literally can't be.
Predictions.
Wow.
The analysis on this
There
guy.
you go. I
Just
prepared for
gigantic
this.
brain. All right, can't even imagine what else is going to be happening here. But yeah, I'm curious what happens. I have noticed that traditionally, like a traditional support hasn't been like a great option so far.
Oh, yeah, the
it's been
Alistar
like
stuff.
mage for the most part, or mage tank.
And I tend to think that one of the strongest strategies would just be picking like double mage with incredible push and poke, right? Like I'm still waiting for Zyra, you know, Zyra Ziggs, give me Zyra and Syndra is banned out, but like these sorts of strategies where you just have so much push, you shove in your opponents under the turret, because if you're playing to win, 100 CS is a very viable strategy. We've seen how much worse the players are at last hitting under the turret on Howling Abyss because, you know, it is less shots to kill the minions and people aren't totally prepared for that.
Right, the game rules are actually different functionally in Howling Abyss, where the turret damage is very much different here compared to Summoner's Rift, but also this still has a lot of the Howling Abyss changes on live where like cannon waves are desynced, blue team gets their cannon minion first, so the second wave will always push into red team's turret. You can either reset off that or use that tempo to sort of keep a push lead going.
I want to mention a quick thing on Fnatic's side because outside of the studio yesterday, Fnatic, they were talking about the 2v2, what were they going to do, and they mentioned Sion would be like overpowered because you can't ward the brush. And he just stands and then he charges up Q all the time. And you can't really walk into it, you can't face him, it's hard to all in the other champion. And that seems to be the strategy here, is you stand in there, you land the knock up into a knockback from Taliyah, and that's a lot of burst damage.
It is a lot of burst damage, but the only thing where that falls short is if you're under your turret, right? If you lose the push, then all of a sudden, who cares if Sion's
They didn't
sitting
get to
in the
that part of the
brush?
strategy.
So-
They're in the brush.
So it'll be interesting to see if they can actually keep the lane more neutral, because I do agree brush control becomes very, very difficult to deal with. You can't face check the Sion as either of these champions, but if Brand and Lux play to the bottom side of the map, away from the brush, and just go for full push the whole time, they should be able to outshove these two, and then the Sion maybe finds more difficulty. But that being said, Sion still does have decent wave clear, and you can E-max.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see how the thing actually plays out. I also really want to know exactly what runes we're going to see on this Sion, and we will get a bunch of like rune graphics during the game to spot what's going on, because keep in mind, first blood doesn't win you the game. You've got to get a second kill. So even if they do kill the Sion off somehow, he plays too aggressively. If he's running like, I mean, first of all, they're running 2 exhausts, but also if he's running, you know, something crazy like the slow on hit, which he actually is. He's running Glacial Augment. He just goes into crazy undead form and just punches the Lux back and trades a kill anyway. So even individual kills for Liquid might not mean much.
I mean, he's just hoping right now that they're going to focus him down so he can actually use the passive, and then bam, 2 kills for Fnatic.
Suicide Sion.
It's maybe going to work. I will have to see.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't just go Comet, to be honest. When you are against 2 relatively squishy champions, I feel like, you know, Comet may be pretty effective here, but perhaps looking more for that all-in, and time to find out, is there any counterplay to standing in the brush and waiting for your opponents to come there?
Oh, let's see.
Yeah, the counterplay is high.
On the counterplay.
He's literally
You
at the
stand
wall.
away from the brush. The strategy has already been defeated.
Ooh,
And now they know Taliyah was on the other side of that wall.
Ooh.
But now you're zoning them. You know, the wave is going to come in. They can't get close enough. Oh, no, did they find him?
Ooh, and Airy triggered, so actually you can see where they went.
Caps got hit. Reaper did not.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, I feel like strategy isn't very good. Vision provided, and they can't actually see the sign. They get the damage there.
All right, this sucks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean,
Massive NA brains.
New picks.
you could just play to the bottom side of the map. So now it just becomes who pushes better, and Brand plus Lux should push better. So I feel like Fnatic didn't really think through the full strategy. But that being said, they can still play, you know, more standard style. You don't have to depend just on this bush stuff.
I mean, we have to remember a pre-level 6 Sion can't really engage unless he lands, you know, the big knock-up. It's not like the Poppy and Nivea where you can charge forward into a wall. And that's going to make it even harder for Fnatic to actually get close to the very long-range poke. Caps might just be the target who they try to poke down.
And I mean, one of the things if you go into a slower game with Talia is the ground actually gets, the work ground gets used up pretty quickly here.
The ignite on Caps does have flash ignite, but he's okay. Whipple has heal as well if needed. Did change his summoners up, so it's not the double exhaust anymore, but that was what was hovered during champ select. Yeah, Caps getting a bad recall.
And Caps is out of health potions here, which is a pretty big deal against all this poke. A level 2 here for TL. I mean, if he gets caught by a binding, he's probably dead, but even without that, you know, definitely the potential to poke this guy out.
And it's a giant wave that's going to crash because Liquid had priority over the lane, even though they had to face against the first cannon minion. They still got the push going. So this is like a 2 to 3x stacked wave with a cannon on top. It won't kill the turret, but it's going to be some decent damage and decent chance to poke.
And normally here you end up missing most of the CS just because it's so hard to last hit on this map under the turret. That misses as well.
If Q landed from Brand, that would have been a forced heal right there because it would have been enough damage to kill. So that's Caps forced out of lane, and we can see what kind of CS can even be picked up here by Whippo. 6 CS lead for TL, but a wave waiting to be killed.
Yeah, and TL didn't do the best job last hitting while pushing it in, so it's not insanely ahead, but you'll see how much harder it is to actually last hit a lot of these. The turret is just going to kind of one-hit most of those, but Whippo does manage to get a couple, and the buy from Caps is actually 5 potions. He's like, okay, you know these, they keep poking me. There's no, what do I do?
It's pretty much that or a Fairy Charm. There's only so much money you've got there. And of course, Rock Serving pretty powerful, of course. Did get nerfed in early ranks in the 8-13 hotfix we're playing on, so not quite as fast back to lane, but Caps did miss XP on that entire wave, basically on a turret, so still barely level 2 here.
The Biscuit rune actually very smart. You can see Bwipo and Impact both took it, so they have their first Biscuit, and now that's Impact, you know, on 5 potions plus a Biscuit. He's going to be exceptionally hard to ever poke out. It basically means you're going to have to all in these guys to get a kill.
I think also it's interesting we have stopwatch on Whippo because most of our games so far have been decided pretty early on. Like level 3 would be the first all in and someone would die and then quickly after to get a second kill. But he's actually hoping you get all the way
to 8 minutes. I mean, that can happen if you're going for 100 CS game, which they think might happen if you're playing, you know, Sion and double mage. Their win condition is CS. So
he's gonna get level 6 at some point. He's gonna try and use that to force an engage. But there's double flash.
Ooh. Good knock up there, and yeah, that's flash out.
Yeah, and he should hit 6 before Impact's flash comes back up now. So that is the potential to actually look for a kill there. And yeah, kind of using the brushes pretty well with the E-poke is gonna be pretty effective. But you have to say then, Comet would have just been probably better, right? Like Glacial Augment, unless that's going to actually get you killed with the zombie or...
He's auto 0 times.
I'm just waiting for the zombie. Oh, Captain, be careful.
That's a nice root. Big damage there. Ignite is on. The trade's going to come in. That's going to be Caps going down, but there is the trade. The damage is on. A nice shield out from Lux. Impact is running.
He could die
and he can't reach him just yet. The stun's going to land. That should be the easy trade kill. There's no way out for Whipple. He's got a flash, but his shield's not yet up. Okay, there it's back. But I feel like it's easy. That's the auto. That's it over. Team Liquid with a 2-on-2 against Side Choice.
I think Bwipo didn't think through that if he died too, they lost. So getting the trade kill is not actually worth it there when you're dying to get it. So
he needed 4 more minutes for that stopwatch. That would have been big for him. Sadly, not ready in time. Caps no flash. I think going into the fight. Or did he maybe? But I think it was gone.
Here you just have to leave as Bwipo and say, okay, we lost this fight. And I'll live, and then we can try to win a 2v2 at level 6, right? Because there's still the potential. But when you're flashing forward there, you're guaranteeing your own death. Yeah. It is just for side selection, but still. Fnatic, I think, didn't think this one fully through.
All right, Rick, we'll be starting now. Wait for out.
Well, so far, pre-match 2-on-2s have a 50% prediction rate of who's going to actually win the game. So might not mean too much.
So it gives us nothing. No new information.
I mean, that's not like this was like going to decide the match, of course. So that is what it is. Either way, going into game 1, Coach Dylan Falco thinks preparation will be the most valuable resource versus Team Liquid.
In this meta, you can win or lose draft way harder than you could in the past. Like in old metas, it was like pick a good AD carry, pick a good mage mid that can wave clear, and then just hope your 5v5 is good. And then the drafts would be maybe like 55-45 or 6-4. But because you can play mages bot lane, bruisers bot lane, and double supports bot lane, if the enemy has countered your comp or countered certain champions, it can be a lot harder to win the game. So I think preparation has a lot to do with this, but I also think adaptations on stage matters a lot as well, because you will likely be put in a situation you haven't seen before in practice.
Two things there. If preparation is important, number one, Team Liquid having won that
Blue side, baby.
has elected for blue side, which just suggests that, of course, they have a plan already ready for that. I'm going to assume Dylan Falco's got a plan ready for both sides. But I also question the preparation then for the 2v2 matchup. In particular, looking at Bwipo's rune choices here on that Scion. What are our thoughts?
Bad, very bad.
Not good.
I don't really like not going Comet and then
EU
stopwatch.
strats, boys. It's EU strats. It's about being close and huggy and making sure you're...
And losing?
I mean, the losing was... It's a false sense of security. We got to give you something.
Ah, that's what it is. All right, well, we'll see what Fnatic breaks out in the 5v5 rematch of MSI opponents. Of course, again, we've talked about how different this team looks from the Fnatic that we saw at MSI.
Yeah, exactly that. Because last time it was very much about the cap show. This guy was all about getting on big carries, all these resources invested into him, and then Fnatic, they just generally played through him rather than through their bot lane. And now they've got Bwipo in the bot lane. They're not running Reckless. We've already seen him play yesterday. He swip swaps between Soaz in the top lane or bot, and it's just a very different dynamic to what Team Liquid has probably experienced in the past.
So then the question is, if Pobelter, who's found comfort in this meta and on Aurelia especially, can go toe-to-toe with Fnatic's mid lane.
It's going to be interesting to see, because at MSI as well, he kind of started tunneling in on that Malzahar pick, and then eventually that got banned away. That's kind of how Aurelia feels right now, but he does look very comfortable just generally across this new meta, where he's getting a lot more alone time, it feels like, with junglers worrying more about side lanes or funneling. He's been looking very good.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times he gets Aurelia by default because the attention is spent on Impact and Doublelift and Xmithie and all the other guys on Team Liquid. So I'm interested to see that matchup. But what I'm really wanting to see is how Doublelift matches up with this Fnatic team, because we have Reckless, a player who has said that they have a better chance just never playing 80 carries, and Doublelift, who I feel like carried TL to the Spring Split Championship and also has them tied for first place in North America as an 80 carry player. So that's a really exciting match.
Right, already the theories don't necessarily align, and then removing that from the conversation and just looking at the possible matchups, he doesn't know who he's playing against still.
No, he doesn't.
In the bot lane, he doesn't know what champions he's playing
Not a marksman.
against. He knows it's not a marksman, but he doesn't know which top laner and whether or not it's going to be a Heimerdinger or a Scion. But now let's hand it off to Obli, who's made a Glacial Augment Scion. Let's hand it off to Obli, who spoke with Kane about the strengths EU teams bring to Rift Rivals.
Thanks, guys. Just spoke with Kane, who says that Team Liquid is pumped and ready to rep that North American pride. He says that EU is a little bit more adaptive to the current meta, but that's why him and Team Liquid are going to use Rift Rivals to kind of test out new strats and really up their game. They scrimmed against G2 earlier this week and were pretty impressed with their high-level play, but that's just going to make beating them today all the more sweet. As for their revenge match versus Fnatic today, he's pretty upset, or rather sad, that Reckless won't be here because he wants to take Fnatic down in their full form. Back to you guys.
I think this is their full form, though. That's kind of what we're driving at here.
He wants him on Janna.
I loved how initially that was a lot of praise towards Europe, and I was like, is he gonna trash talk EU at all? But at the end, he did say that he was gonna take down Fnatic, so I'd like to see what Team Liquid can bring out today.
Looking for that revenge win against Fnatic. We'll see how that match plays out in not too long, but for now, we're stepping away. When we return, we'll share our thoughts on patch 8.13, and Vedius will give us his thoughts on some of the unique picks in this tournament. All that and more after the break.
Are they?